I'm joined with Leo Exarhos, Technical Director of Canberra Olympic. Leo, I've got a couple questions to ask you regarding your role as a leader in your respective job at Canberra Olympic. First, I just want to ask you, can you share a little bit about your journey into football leadership and what experiences have shaped you and your approach as a technical director?
Probably passion for the game, Adam, is probably number one. So just growing up as a kid, being a kid of migrant parents, football was always on the TV at home, and the whole family's been passionate about football for as long as I can remember. I'm probably following a little bit my father's footsteps, my brother's footsteps. Very much a football family. I started playing at a very early age. Probably stopped, or still playing now, but probably stopped playing professionally at about 28, 29. And always tried to lead on the park as best I could. And then, at the time when I couldn't play sort of at the level I wanted to anymore and realised I was getting a bit old, I really still had that burning passion to be involved at high levels of the game and sort of transitioned to coaching. Did some coaching courses that are accredited through Capital Football, and then, really wanted to apply some of the knowledge I'd gained playing for a long time and being involved for a long time on a field with a group of individuals. And I think I started with an under 16s team 1 year, went to an under 18s team, found myself coaching first grade, had a successful couple of seasons, and then sort of transitioned into the technical director role, and more of that supporting coaching and also getting behind, getting involved in the day-to-day running of the club as well.
Okay, awesome. How would you describe your leadership style, and how does it influence the way you work with coaches, players, and other committee members?
It's funny. I think you got to work with people. You got to have really good communication. You have to have direct communication sometimes, but also you need to know when you have to take that softer touch with players as well. Coaches, you have to be able to adapt your style to different audiences. I think that's really important as well, depending on who you're dealing with. A club like Canberra Olympic, we've got juniors, seniors, men, women, and you can't have the same sort of style across the board. You really got to adapt that. With younger players, you definitely need to, they're probably a bit fearful of the unknown. Probably don't focus as much. Really have to focus on some of the individual skills. Whereas with senior players, you're probably doing less of the senior skills and more of the motivation, more of the player management bit really comes out. You expect senior players to be able to trap a ball and do all the technical bits that you need. So just being adaptive and having really good communication skills.
Okay, awesome. How do you set and communicate long-term vision for the club, particularly in guiding the overall direction of the organisation?
Probably four things, Adam. One, a club's got to be organised. You've got to have a good board of directors. You've got to have TDs in place. You've got to have good coaches in place. The way you communicate with things like social media and all of that all has to be really, really organised. The club has to be organised. Apparel, so there's a bit going on behind the scenes to make a club feel like it is that way. Then you need a plan. I think really talking to your stakeholders, mapping it out with your board about where you want to be. What does funding look like? Where do we want to be in 3 years? Relationships with government, Capital Football, others, where are they at? Do we have the right people negotiating with them? Leadership's really important. Having good leaders makes a big difference. And then just probably control. The day-to-day gets quite busy. There's a lot of issues that players have issues, coaches have issues, board members, stakeholders, sponsors, day-to-day running of games. You've got to be across it all.
Okay, awesome. What do you see as the most important leadership priority in your role specifically?
Probably honesty and integrity, Adam. I think to be a leader, you've got to be honest and integrity. You realise that you're the face of the club, and there are times when there is really easy issues to deal with. When you're winning and everything's great, it's fantastic. But when things aren't going so well, that's when it's hard. And I think being honest when you're dealing with people, having integrity is really important, because no matter how bad the issue is, if people feel like they can approach you, they can discuss those issues with you, you can always work through them.
How do you approach broader challenges, such as community frustration, funding pressures, or even changes in the football landscape?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think there's less volunteers now than there ever used to be. Probably COVID had a bit of an impact on that. Look, funding, I think, is another one. I'd probably say diversification, Adam. You got to sponsors are important, but you got to think about what you can give back to your sponsors as well. It's not all just about taking. Running canteens, running raffles, try to diversify. Multicultural festivals. Reducing expenses is really important, like apparel. Recently we had a look at apparel and did a bit of a study and found that if we went to direct to China, we could, find significant costs. I think it's a multitude of things, but definitely being diverse, controlling your expenses, and looking for lots of different avenues in terms of generating, funds for the club as well.
How do you use your role to foster inclusivity, shared identity, and value across diverse memberships and base?
I think making sure that the board has really good female and male representation, not just one-sided. I think that's really important. I think having a player committee and player leaders, both on the boys and girls side, who give us feedback, who tell us how things are being interpreted, some of the decisions made by the board, how they're being interpreted on the ground. Definitely seeking feedback from playing groups, coaches, stakeholders, and people of all different backgrounds and cultures and genders. I think once you do that, you can really start to promote inclusivity at your club, and people recognise a particular club like Canberra Olympic, where we've won the girls 3 years in a row and been known for being a great club in the boys as well. You start to foster that culture, which is really good.
Yeah. What personal qualities do you believe are the most important for leading in football administration, and how do you try and model that?
Yeah, I think we touched about honesty, integrity, being that leader, being that manager, being someone who's organised, being someone who can articulate themselves and probably you have to be proactive as well. Like, there's not a day where I don't wake up and think, oh, there's something I've got to do for Olympic, and or there's someone I need to talk to, or something on the weekend that didn't go too right that we couldn't approve on. And having that sort of self-starter, proactive approach, and probably conflict resolution, I'd say, is one as well. Issues pop up, particularly these days. I think probably parents are more involved in sport than they ever used to be before, but a lot of the time they just want to know what's going on with their kid, and what the pathway is for their player. How do we get them better? And sometimes there's conflict, and you just need to deal with that as well. So a few things.
And finally, what qualities or approaches future technical directors need in order to succeed as the game and community continue to evolve and grow?
Look, I think good football knowledge is always, prioritise that. I watch games differently now. I used to just watch them for pure enjoyment, but now when I watch a game, I'll look at where the backline's sitting, what sort of tactics are being employed by different managers, how is the other team responding to those tactics, what adjustments coaches are making at half time. Did it work? Did it not work? There's a deeper appreciation for the game when you move into a sort of technical role that you have to have and that you have to understand, along with the basics. I mean, they're all important, especially when you're dealing with kids. But definitely when you get to the senior levels, that football knowledge of, okay, well, what's worked well. When we're down, what do we do? When we're up, what do we do? How do we play? If the other team lines up like this, what should we do? If there's a player on the team that we need to worry about, how do we cater for that? That technical knowledge of football is really good. Player management is huge. Being able to relate to players, being adaptable, being able to adjust your style. You cannot treat players all the same. They're all very, very different. Some players respond well to really direct communication. Others don't. Some players respond really well to being singled out in the change room. Others don't. You really need to know your players and have a good sense of who they are and what they need to get better in football. I'd say that sports science as well, that nutrition, gym, all of these things are evolving at a rapid rate, and understanding what players need to do, how they need to be hydrated, what they need to eat, what exercises they need to do to the gym specifically to be able to perform better on the weekend as well, is quite big.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your time.
No worries. Thanks, Adam. Cheers.